The mathematics in finance. Objectives. This topic aims to know the simple and compound interest, credit cards and consumer loans, stocks, bonds and mutual funds, and home ownership. Financial mathematics is the application of mathematical methods to financial problems. Equivalent names sometimes used are quantitative finance, financial engineering, mathematical finance, and computational finance. It draws on tools from probability, statistics, stochastics process, and economic theory. Simple and compound interest. Interest is the amount paid for the use of money. It is also paid for the money borrowed from a bank. The amount borrowed is called the principal. The interest is expressed as a percentage rate of the principal for a given time interval. Interest is the cost of borrowing money where the borrower pays a fee to the lender for the loan. Simple interest is the interest that does not become a part of the principal. Formula: I equals P RT or A equals P open and close parenthesis 1 plus RT, where P is the principal amount of the money to be invested at interest rate R% per period for T, number of time periods. Example: a 2-year loan of $500 is made with 4% simple interest. Find the interest earned. Remember, always identify the values given in the problem. Given, time is 2 years, T equals 2, initial amount is $500, P equals 500, the rate is 4%. Now write this as a decimal, so R equals 0.04. Now apply the formula. I equals PRT equals 500, open and close parenthesis 0.4, open and close parenthesis 2. Now apply always the PEMDAS rule, so we will solve first the values in the parentheses. So 0.04 times 2 equals 0.08. Now 500 times 0.08 is equals to 40. Compound interest. It is the interest that the sum becomes the new principal amount. The formula for annual compound interest including principal sum is A equals P, open and close parenthesis 1 plus R divided by N to the power of NT. Now A is the future value of the investment or loan including interest. P is the principal investment amount, the initial deposit or loan amount. R equals the annual interest rate, decimal. N equals the number of the time that interest is compounded per year. T, the number of the year the money is invested or borrowed for. Example: if an amount of $5,000 is deposited into a savings account at an annual interest rate of 5% compounded monthly, what is the value of the investment after 10 years? Given, P is equals to 5,000, R is equals to 5 divided by 100 is equals to 0.05, N is equals to 12, T is equals to 10. Now apply the formula. A is equals to P open and close parenthesis 1 plus R divided by N to the power of NT. So A is equals to 5,000, open and close parenthesis 1 plus 0.05 divided by 12 to the power of 12 and 10. Now always apply the PEMDAS rule, so we have to solve the values inside the parentheses first. So 1 plus 0.05 divided by 12 is equals to 1.004166667. Now 12 times 10 is equals to 120. Now it becomes A is equals to 5,000, open and close parenthesis 1.004166667 to the power of open and close parenthesis 120. Now 1.0041667 raised to the power of 120 is equals to 1.647009563. Now 5,000 times 1.647009563 is equals to $8,235.5. Now this is the interest balance after 10 years. Credit cards and consumer loans. According to Latoya Irby 2019, a credit card is a plastic card that lets you access the credit limit your credit card issuer gives you. A credit card is a thin rectangular piece of plastic or metal issued by a bank or financial services company that allows cardholders to borrow funds with which to pay for goods and services with merchants that accept cards for payment. Now, Janet Berry Johnson 2019 discussed the annual percentage rate or APR as one of the key factors you should consider when shopping for a credit card. Finding the lowest rate available to you means comparing offers and card terms carefully. Here's what you should look for. Introductory or promotional APR. Many credit cards offer an introductory APR, usually 0% on balance transfers or purchases for anywhere from a few months to a year. Annual percentage rate refers to the interest rate stated as a yearly rate that credit card companies charge if you carry a balance, and the definition of introductory APR is lower than usual APR that you get for a set period of time when you open an account. This can be super helpful, but make sure you read the terms and conditions and pay off your balance before the APR jumps up its regular rate. Regular APR. The lower end of the APR range is reserved for consumers with good to excellent credit. On the other side, the higher APRs are for consumers at the lower end of eligible credit scores. Your actual rate will be determined by the issuer when you apply, but looking at your credit scores before applying may give you a better idea of what to expect. The interest rate applied to purchases as long as no other APR takes precedence. Cash Advance APR. The cash advance APR is the annual percentage rate of interest you have to pay for credit card cash advances. It's typically higher than the APR for ordinary purchases. If you have a credit card with a special introductory rate, that rate usually doesn't apply to cash advances. Cash advance APR cash advances carry a separate and often higher interest rate than purchases or balance transfer. Penalty APR. If you miss a payment, the credit card company may raise your rate in addition to charging you a late fee. A penalty APR is a high interest rate that can be triggered if you make your credit card payment late, and if you don't bring the account current within 60 days, the penalty APR may apply to your current balance as well. Consumer loan means a secured or unsecured loan given to the customers for personal, family, or household purposes, or for consumable items such as car, boat, manufactured home, home equity loan, and etc. It is also called consumer lending, consumer credit, or retail lending. In general, the higher your credit score, the lower the rate will be. Individuals with excellent credit, which is defined as FICO or Fair Isaac Corporation, credit score between 720 and 850, should expect to find rates at about 10% to 12%, and many of these individuals may even qualify for lower rates. Lenders' interest rates or unsecured personal loans typically range between 5% to 36%. A consumer loan is a loan given to the consumers to finance specific type of expenditure. The loan can be secured, backed up by the assets of the borrower, or unsecured, not backed by the assets of the borrower. You borrow a fixed amount of money and pay it back with interest in monthly payments over the life of the loan, which typically ranges from 12 to 84 months. Once you pay your loan in full, your account is closed. If you need more money, you have to apply for a new loan.
We already know about the simple and compound interest and also the credit cards and consumer loans. Now, let's proceed to stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, including home ownership. The first thing that comes in our mind when we hear the word stock, bonds, and mutual funds is about business. Stock, or also known as ownership of a company. When you buy a stock, you buy a piece of a company. So if the company does well, you do well. Congruently, if the company tanks, you also tanks. Buying a stocks means you're being part of a company. There are different kinds or types of stocks. First is large company stocks. It multiplying the number of companies share outstanding by its stock's price per share. And these stocks are commonly seen or observed in the largest or bigger companies. The second one is mid-cap or mid-cap stocks. It markets value between $2 and $10. As the name implies, it is between large cap and small cap. Expected to grow increased profit, market share, and productivity. Middle of growth curve are observed. This is also called useful portfolio because it balance and growth stability. Small cap or small cap stocks are between $300 million to $2 billion market value. Small caps investors seeks to beat institutional investors by focusing on growth opportunities. Historically out have performed large cap stocks but are also more volatile and riskier. International stocks issued by corporations outside the US. They may trade on several different exchanges around the world, including the US in the form of American Depository Receipts or ADRs. Emerging stocks, a fund that invests the majority of its assets in securities from countries with economies that are considered to be emerging. Next and lastly, technological stocks. It is composed of business that sell goods and services in electronics, software, computers, artificial intelligence, and other industries related to information technology. Next topic is bond. Bond is when you loan your money to the government or a company, and in return, they pay you interest for the term of that loan. Considered conservative types of investment because you can choose the length and term of the bond and know exactly how much money you will get back at the end of the term of maturity. There are five types of bonds. First, government bonds. A government bonds, its securities, is a form of debt issues through the Bureau of the Treasury. It is also called as sovereign bonds. Second is corporate bond. A bond issued by a corporation in order to raise financing for a variety of reasons, such as the ongoing operations, M&A, or to expand business. This is usually applied to longer-term debt instruments with maturity of at least 1 year. Short-term bond. Fund invest in securities that have a maturity period between a year to 3 years and offer high liquidity. Long-term bond. A financial obligation that runs for at least 5 years and usually for a much longer period. Municipal and inflation-protected bonds. Investment vehicles issued by local municipalities where the variable coupon payment is indexed to the inflation rate as measured by the CPI municipal. Linked securities protect the holder from inflation risk, by varying the assumed principal along with the CPI. For example, the trader in the country was referring to the March 12 auction of reissued 5 years T-bonds, where the Bureau of the Treasury raised 15 billion pesos as planned form the securities with the remaining life of 4 years and 10 months. The bonds fetch an average rate of 4.132%. Mutual funds. It is another way to invest in stocks, bonds, or cash alternatives. It is also called as baskets of stocks or bonds. Basically, your money along with the money of others investors into a fund, which then invests in certain securities according to the stated statement strategy. The fund is managed by a fund manager who reports to board of directors. Assume that you wish to invest 100,000 pesos in a mutual fund. You check and saw that the mutual fund NAVPS or net asset value per share price is currently 1.75 pesos. Given this NAVPS value, if you invest 100,000 in a mutual fund, you will receive 57,142 shares of this mutual fund, computed as follows. So, if you have 100,000 pesos invested in a mutual fund, it will divided by 1.75 from the NAVPS and it results 57,142 shares. Your total investment value invest that day is 99,998.50, computed as follows: 57,142 shares multiplied by 1.75 NAVPS is equal to 99,998.50. Home ownership or owner company is a form of housing tenure where a person called the owner-occupier, owner-occupant, or homeowner owns the home in which he or she lives. This home can be house, apartment, condominium, or a housing cooperative. In addition, to provide housing owner occupancy also function as a real estate investment. For example, basically, the key rates of Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas influence housing loan interest rates in the Philippines. Currently, the lending rate is recorded at 6%, which means your interest will be 3.5% on a BLR 2.5% loan. There is one person who made fundamental contribution to game theory, differential geometry study of partial differential equations. He is John Forbes Nash Jr. He was born on June 13, 1928 and died on May 23, 2015. He was an American mathematician. Nash's work provides insight into the factors that govern chance and decision-making inside complex systems found in everyday life. His theories are widely used in economics, serving as a senior research mathematician at Princeton University. During the later part of his life, he shared the 1994 Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences with game theorists Ron Hand-Selton and John Harsanel. In 2015, he also shared the Abel Prize with Lois Nirenberg for his work on nonlinear partial differential equations. He was also awarded Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences and Abel Prize. Sadly, on 1959, mental illness was experienced by John Forbes Nash Jr. He spent several hours, years, incurring in the psychiatric hospital. He was suffering the paranoid schizophrenia. After 1970, he recovered, returned to academic world by mid-1970, and wrote the Sylvia Nasar's biography, also known as A Beautiful Mind, as well as the film of the same name starring Russell Crowe as Nash. May 23, 2015, Nash and his wife were killed in a car crash while riding in a taxi on a New Jersey Turnpike. That's it for today. I hope you enjoy our lesson. Have a nice day. Bye.